Sam Burns joins us now at the 2025 Ryder Cup. Sam, welcome to your second Ryder Cup. Let's go ahead and jump right into some questions here. Mike 16.
Hey, Sam. Just wanted to ask you about your relationship with Donald Trump, obviously coming tomorrow. I think he said after the BMW Championship that you could eat safely in Washington, D.C. now, but I just wanted to expand on your relationship and what it means to you for him coming tomorrow.
Yeah, I think it's a huge honor to have our president come to this event and support our team. This is about representing our country and representing the United States of America, and who better to represent that than the president? So I think we're all excited.
Right here on 3, Cameron.
Making your Ryder Cup debut a couple years ago in Rome, how much are you looking forward to being able to experience this atmosphere at home this time?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's obviously very different playing away versus home, and I haven't experienced a Ryder Cup at home yet, but just these last couple of days with having the support of the fans out here, and then playing a President's Cup in Charlotte, pretty similar. So it's been great. I think these New York fans are very excited to have us here, and they love their sports, and we're going to try to go out there and give them a show and play our best and hopefully kind of feed into that support.
How much of what happened in Rome has kind of been on your mind, or maybe even a sour taste in your mouth over the past couple of years?
Yeah, I think as competitors, losing's never fun. It doesn't matter what sport or what game, whatever it is, losing sucks in general. And so I think, for me and for us, we want to use those memories as fuel this week. And, as we prepare, I think everyone that was on that team or watched, vividly remembers what that feels like. And so, you don't want that feeling again.
Go over to 9, starting with Dylan.
What do you love so much about match play? You've had a bunch of success.
Well, I think for one, it's such a different style than what we typically are used to week in and week out. It's either me and someone else against 2 other people, or you against the person standing on the tee, with you. And so I think it's just a totally different animal. And it's, a lot of times, like, if you make a mistake on a hole, or you make a big number on a hole, the worst thing that can happen is you lose one hole. And I think that's the really cool part of match play is, things can happen, in a weird way that you typically don't see in stroke play. And so I think, you see big swings in matches or pivotal moments in matches where you can really use momentum. So stuff like that, I think I enjoy that part of it.
Did you see Coach O out here this week?
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Do you guys have a relationship?
A little bit. I've seen him a few times, since our time at LSU, but it was great seeing him out here, and, he obviously loves being out with the fans and kind of spurring them on. He's a perfect person for that.
Go ahead.
Hey, Sam. Obviously, being a good putter requires technical skills, but I'm wondering, like, weeks like this, how much of the guys who really thrive, how much of it is managing your nerves over, those sort of 5 to 8 footers?
Yeah, I think for me personally, I try to approach it the same as any other putt. For me, I try to first off read it the correct way, and then I try to keep putting as simple as possible. I think there's so many things that happen after you hit a putt that are out of your control that, whether it hits a spike mark or an imperfection in the green or the wind blows it, there's just so many things that can happen. So for me, I try to read it, start it on the line I want to with the right speed, and after that, whatever happens, happens. And I think that's the best way to approach putting for myself.
But that element of, like, controlling the jitters, I mean, I imagine you guys all feel it no matter how good a putter you are. I mean, is there anything you do in particular that sort of helps you manage that piece of it?
Yeah, sure. I think, for starters, making sure that you putt when you're ready to putt. I think sometimes things can happen kind of quickly, and so just making sure you're kind of settled in and not rushing it or making sure you take the appropriate amount of time to kind of settle into your routine. But yeah, there's definitely nerves, there's definitely excitement. And it's just kind of settling yourself down and realizing that a 6-footer is a 6-footer. It's a lot more difficult to do when you're out there, but I think that's the kind of simplest form of doing that.
Dan, go ahead.
There's been a lot of talk about the money this week and the stipend. What do you make of this notion that if guys are getting paid, then somehow it's it's not as pure, or they're not playing for their country in some way?
Yeah, to be honest, my personal opinion is I'm extremely grateful that the PGA of America is doing this. I live in a small town in Louisiana, and that amount of money in that community for those charities is going to go a long ways. And so for me personally, it's going to have a huge impact on our community. And I'm just extremely grateful that we get that opportunity.
And then yesterday, Luke Donald said he said, we're not here for prize money. Did you guys take that as sort of a subtle jab?
I mean, to be honest, for us, being able to steward that money in our own communities at home, I think that's a great thing. And I think the PGA of America giving this opportunity for us to do that is really special.
Up to mic 5.
Hey, Sam, over here. Having played in a Ryder Cup before, how different are those interactions with the Europeans that you're playing with as opposed to maybe a guy or two that you're playing with in a normal PGA Tour event?
Yeah, there's probably a lot less small talk. I think in a normal week, a normal PGA Tour round, time between shots, you're usually talking about something, families and kids or, whatever it is. But this week, I think you're just kind of a little more focused on, either talking with your teammate or whoever you're playing with, your caddy, just a little more focused on kind of your little bubble.
Was there a lot of chirping involved the last time?
In Rome?
Yeah.
Not necessarily. Not that I really recall.
We'll finish up way up top there, 16.
Hi, Sam. Back on the topic of putting, with black typically having very subtle breaks, there's not a ton of undulation on them. Just curious, any insight into your green reading process, if that changes things, or your final thought, before pulling the trigger on maybe it's straight, a little bit of break. How do you, what's the last thought in your head there?
I would say the last thought is, for me, it's committing to a line that I've read. I think the worst thing you can do in putting is kind of be unsure. Because a lot of times if you're unsure, you don't really make a good stroke or don't really have good speed. So really it's just committing to that line, trying to make a good stroke, and then being able to accept the result.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time, Sam. We appreciate it.